Hey, Jim Wolf here with dating advice for men who love women. When you're on a date with a woman, should you be serious and try to have a deep conversation with her and try to build that deep connection by talking about heavy subjects and sharing a lot back and forth at kind of a more serious, heavy level? Or should you keep things a little more light and playful and have fun with her? What should be your focus when you're on a date? Well, I got an email from one of my top clients asking exactly about this topic the other day. He said, "Hey Jim, I have a question. You and other people in the dating community teach the importance of being playful, fun, and being able to tease a girl. I've noticed that if you're too playful, girls can maybe become too comfortable and then eventually disrespectful with their attraction dropping. There's a dating coach who talks about the importance of keeping a masculine frame at all times and discourages guys from being playful and goofy. What do you think? Thanks, GS." Well, first of all, this is a really good question, and I think it's extremely important. And I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm just going to let you know, when you're on a date with a woman, especially those first 2 or 3 dates, you want to keep the atmosphere light and playful. And I think that principle is absolutely critical to your success with women. You should keep your dates light and playful for the most part. So what's my response to GS's excellent question? Well, let's start by talking about the main reason why I talk about keeping things light and playful in the first place. And here it is. Almost all men, when they're on a date with a woman that they're actually interested in, get way too serious way too soon, when instead they should be focusing on having fun with her and getting to know her a little bit and letting things kind of unfold over time. Mostly they kind of want to rush things along and get really heavy and deep and serious way too soon. And that doesn't work. That's not attractive. And so we don't want to do that. We want to keep things light and playful and let the relationship kind of unfold over time. And you want to get to know her over time and let her get to know you over some time. So you don't want to get too serious too soon. You don't want to ask her to be your girlfriend after 2 dates, for example. It takes a little bit longer than that most of the time when you're dating a woman. And if you get too serious, too deep, too heavy, too soon, that's going to push her away and she's going to lose attraction for you. So that's not what we want. We want to let things play out over time and have fun with her instead of rushing into rejection. And here's another thing about that. Negatives do not increase female interest. So let's say you both have a traumatic event that happened to you in childhood, and you share that with each other. And now you're in your mind kind of thinking like, oh, we're deeply connected with each other. This is great for our relationship. Well, it's not, for one big reason. Those kind of negatives do not increase female interest at all. And in fact, they can definitely lower them. Now, in terms of building an emotional connection with a woman, if you want to be friends with her, or you're her therapist, for example, then you can share those things back and forth, and it does create that kind of emotional bond sometimes. However, if you want her to be romantically interested in you, those things are actually dangerous in the beginning stages of dating. So again, female interest and your romantic relationship with a woman cannot be built on negative or serious or heavy things. Love is light and playful. It's not serious. That's a myth, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. And so by now, it's pretty clear that we want to keep things light and playful versus being really heavy and serious on a date with a woman. However, I think it's really important to talk about what that actually means so that you know how to apply this concept on your date and you're not just kind of being silly or being a clown or trying to put on some kind of performance. So let's talk about what keeping things light and playful means, and then we'll talk about what it doesn't mean so we can go a little deeper into this question. So first of all, here's what being light and playful actually means. As we already talked about, it means avoiding talking about heavy subjects. So if you're on a first date with a woman, you don't want to just say like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about that huge plane crash in Russia the other day that killed 117 people?" I mean, you can talk about something like that if you want, but it's not a really good idea to bring up that kind of topic on your first date with a woman. You want to keep it light, not heavy. And so you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to really bring the mood down. And now if she brings something like that up, you can talk about it with her for a second, and then you want to transition the conversation into something more light and playful. So you can show her that you have a serious side for a second if she brings it up, but you don't want to bring something like that into your connection with the woman right away. Okay, that's something that you can do later on, when you've been together for 2 years. Of course, you can talk about something like that. But even then, in general, when you're in a relationship with a woman, you want to keep things positive, light, and playful as much as you can. Keeping things light and playful also means not telling her how you feel about her. Your feelings for a woman are heavy and sappy and deep. Those things are not light and playful, and they can easily push her away. So instead of telling her how much you like her and how awesome she is constantly, what you want to do instead is just attract her properly. If you like her, ask her out on a date. If you're attracted to her, go for a kiss by the end of the second date. You want to show her by your actions that you're interested, not tell her with your mouth, because that is a heavy thing to talk about. And then keeping things light and playful also means not complimenting her 100 times every date. You want to limit yourself to one genuine light compliment per date. If you do that, you will do much better than if you give her 5 compliments on each date. Again, we don't want to get too serious too soon and get too heavy and too deep. Okay, and these things are heavy and deep, and you want to cut those out and keep things light and playful. And then another thing that keeping things light and playful means is not sharing your problems, insecurities, and past traumas. A lot of guys think they should connect with a woman on these really deep things, and no, that's not what you want to do. I mean, just think about how much it costs to go to a therapist. There's a reason why you pay a lot of money to go see someone and talk about these things. It takes energy from the other person. And when you're on a first, second, or third date with a woman, you want to be contributing something to that connection, not taking her energy away. And again, her attraction for you and your romantic relationship with her cannot be built on these things anyway. You can become friends with someone by talking about these things, and you can feel an emotional connection on some level because of them, but you cannot build that romantic connection with her based on those things. So you don't want to share those things with her on the first few dates. That's too deep and too serious and too heavy. You want to keep it light and playful. And another way that you can do that is not trying to force things into being in a relationship with her. So a lot of guys go on 1 or 2 dates and they're really interested in a woman and they want her to be his girlfriend right away. When in reality, most of the time, even if a woman is very interested in you, it takes about 6 to 10 dates or 2 to 3 months for her to actually be ready to commit to a long-term relationship with you. And so you don't want to rush that process along and think like, oh, something's wrong. She doesn't want to be with me too after 2 dates. No, that doesn't mean that. Women tend to fall in love slower than men. So you have to let her interest in you catch up to your interest in her. And so even if you want to marry her right after you first see her, which can happen, you have to be patient and just understand that your job is just to keep asking her out until you get to that 6 to 10 date range. And you want to make it to that point so that her interest is high enough to be in a relationship with you. And if you do that and you do everything right with her, she's going to bring up the idea of being in a relationship with you. And that's when you ask her to be your girlfriend, not before that. Because if you do it before that, it's probably going to be too soon, even though in your mind, it seems like it's been a long time already. So whatever time you think that might be right to become boyfriend and girlfriend, just add a month or 2 to that timeline, and you'll probably be more accurate in terms of when she's going to be ready for that. And if you understand that, you take things a little slower, you're more relaxed, you're more confident, and that's going to make her more attracted to you. And you're going to have a shot to get to that point where she wants to be with you. So don't force it and don't rush things along in terms of escalating your relationship with her and making it official. It's her job to escalate the relationship, and she does that just by bringing up the idea of being in a relationship with you. And at that point, you can ask her to be your girlfriend if you want. But just don't do it before then, because it's too heavy, too serious, too soon. And then another way to keep things light and playful is not overreacting when something strange happens. So if they don't have the dish that you wanted at the restaurant that you go to, or the coffee shop that you wanted to go to is closed, or something happens like that on your date, you don't want to get super pissed off and negative about it. You want to kind of let that roll by. And of course, you have 2 or 3 backup plans. So you just move on to the next plan smoothly instead of bringing the mood down. And that's really going to help you on your date when something like that happens. And then one more way to keep things light and playful is to playfully tease and challenge her. So instead of giving her 1,000 compliments, it's much better if you actually playfully tease her. You know, like if she drops something on the floor, you can say, "Oh, that's why we can't have nice things." You know, you want to keep it light and fun and kind of tease her a little bit. Now, you don't want to insult her, because that's heavy and serious. You're attacking her. But you want to playfully tease her like, "Haha, you're so silly." And so we want to playfully challenge her, and at the same time, we don't want to insult her. So keep that in mind. And then the last thing that keeping things light and playful means is having fun with her. When you're on your first, second, and third date with a woman, you want to focus on having as much fun as you possibly can with her. That should be your number one goal. Let the fun you're having with a woman be your connection with her, especially during those first 6 to 10 dates, which I call the early stages of dating. If you do that, she's going to start getting concerned with where the relationship is headed. And then she's going to bring it up with you. And then you can ask her to be your girlfriend, because now it's her idea and her interest is high enough for that to stick. And so when you're on your first few dates with a woman, we definitely want to keep things light and playful by doing all those things that we just talked about. And now, here's what keeping things light and playful does not mean. And I think this is very important to understand as well. So keeping things light and playful does not mean that you laugh at your own jokes. So, of course, you can laugh a little bit if you say something that you think is funny. That's fine. But in general, what we want is for you to say something funny and just kind of smile with your eyes like you know it's really funny, and she's laughing. That's the best thing that we can do. We want her to be laughing. You don't want to laugh at your own jokes for the most part. And then you also don't want to nervously try too hard to be funny while just actually being awkward. So you don't want to force this light and playful attitude. You want to let it happen. And so don't try too hard to be funny. And you also don't want to make crude, unfunny, or sarcastic jokes. Okay, so cut out that locker room humor when you're on a date. You want to be kind of more silly, more playful with your humor. And you can be cutting a little bit if you know what you're doing, but don't be sarcastic, because being sarcastic is heavy and deep, and it cuts your connection off with her. Whereas being playful and playfully teasing her builds your connection with her. So you don't want to be sarcastic, you don't want to make crude jokes, and you don't want to talk to her like she's your best male friend at a bar. Okay, you got to talk a little bit differently on your first few dates with a woman that you want to build a romantic connection with. And then keeping things light and playful also does not mean performing a clown show for her. So you're not trying to be just silly and funny the whole time and have a performance. You just want to keep the mood in the background of your dates light and playful. Keep everything smooth. Don't bring it down and make it heavy and serious and negative. You want to keep it positive and light and smooth and fun. You want to keep those positive feelings going. And being light and playful also does not mean smiling to seek approval from her. Okay, if you have a serious face all the time, she's not really going to like that. On the other hand, if you're smiling all the time to kind of try to get her to like you more, she's not going to be attracted to that either. So what you want to do is practice smiling with your eyes only. That's a little bit more masculine, a little bit more high status, because you're keeping your mouth closed, which is kind of pushing her away. And at the same time, you're giving her a genuine smile with your eyes, which is pulling her in. It might sound like a really subtle thing, but these body language things are very important when it comes to building a connection with a woman. And so practice giving genuine smiles with your eyes, but keeping your mouth closed and not smiling with a huge approval-seeking grin. Okay, and then keeping things light and playful also does not mean that you never start getting to know her and you're only being playful and silly. Okay, so you want to keep the atmosphere light and playful, and at the same time, you want to also get to know her. So after you playfully challenge her for a little bit, you want to ask her open-ended questions and let her talk about herself. But you don't want to make your open-ended questions heavy or serious. You want to keep them light and playful as well. That's the distinction here. So instead of saying like, oh, hey, like, what's your worst trauma from your life? Like, what's the worst thing that happened to you when you were a child? You don't want to ask her something like that. What you want to do is ask her something light and playful, like, if you could be any animal, what would you be and why? And that allows her to share some of her personality with you, but it's not too heavy or too serious. Okay, so you can ask her, like, what's one of your favorite stories from growing up? You want to keep it positive and light. You don't want to go super negative with that. But you also want to get to know her and not just be silly the whole time. So that's the distinction here. And then lastly, keeping things light and playful does not mean that you self-deprecate or put yourself down. You don't want to put yourself down for her to laugh. Okay, you want her laughing at your jokes and that you're playfully teasing her, but not laughing at you. Okay, so don't put yourself in a lower position just to get her to laugh. Because while that might make her laugh, it's going to decrease her attraction to you. And now, before we finish this presentation, I want to cover 3 more key points quickly with you about being light and playful. First of all, as we already mentioned, love is light and playful. It's not serious. There's a dangerous myth out there in our society that love is serious. Well, I have to tell you that it's not. Love, real love, is light and playful. It's not heavy, deep, syrupy, or anything like that. It's light, playful, and positive. So love is light and playful. And so a lot of guys ask me like, okay, I understand I should have fun with a woman. Well, when should we get serious? And in our society, we even say like, hey, are you guys serious when we're talking about romantic relationships? And I think that's very dangerous because it plays into this myth that we should be super deep and serious and heavy all the time, which is not how love actually works. And so my response to their question is, you should keep having fun with her as long as you're with her. Here's the thing. Let's say that you get married to a woman and you're in a relationship with her for 75 years. In your 75th year with her, you should still be having as much fun with her as possible. Life is already serious, heavy, hard, negative, a lot. You don't need to add more to that actively. You want to actually create positives actively, and there's going to be negatives that come in that you can deal with together anyway. So, for example, let's say that you've been together with a woman for 2 years, and you've kind of gotten into a routine with her. One of the things that maintains female interest is to continue to take her out and date her like you did when you first met her, because life is already serious and heavy. And so you guys are going to be dealing with your bills. And if you have kids, you got to deal with all of that stuff. And there's going to be a lot of life things that are happening that you're both going to be dealing with. And so what you want to do is about once a week, or if you can't do that, once every other week at least, you want to take her out for like 45 minutes or an hour, if that's the most you can do, and just simply have fun together. That's what keeps that romantic part of your relationship alive. And so keeping things light and fun in the beginning creates that romantic connection. And then continuing to keep things light and fun over the long haul maintains that romantic connection over time. And so this concept goes really deep, not only in terms of attraction, but also in terms of having a healthy, positive relationship with a woman. So you want to actively create this fun with her as long as you're together with her. And again, love is light and playful. It's not serious. And on that same note, number 2, you want to be with a woman who has a great attitude about life in general, whether she's with you or not. So for you to be satisfied with a woman over the long haul, she needs to have a positive, good attitude. And so if you keep things light and fun on your dates, like we've been talking about, and she doesn't want to do that, she wants to bring the mood down. She wants to be cutting and sarcastic and biting. And she doesn't have a good attitude towards life and towards the world without you, just on her own. If that's not who she is, then she's not a good choice for you, because you're not going to be satisfied with her over the long haul. And so one way you can find out if a woman is really a good choice for you or not is to keep things light and playful on your dates and see if she joins into that and enjoys that, or if she tries to bring the mood down. And now, everybody has a bad day once in a while. So if she's in a bad mood one time on one date, that's fine. But if she consistently brings the mood down when you're trying to create this fun, light, and positive atmosphere, then she's not the right choice for you. And it's time to move on to a woman who does have a positive attitude that can create this positive connection with you over time. And then lastly, number 3, the goal on your first few dates is to maintain a light and playful atmosphere at all times, not to continually be as silly as possible or only tease her for an hour. So we kind of talked about this already, but keeping things light and playful doesn't mean that you're only being silly the whole time. It just means that in the background, that light, playful, fun atmosphere is always there. So let's say that she's sharing something very personal with you. You obviously don't want to be laughing at that or teasing her during that time. Okay, so you want to respond appropriately when she shares something personal with you. You want to give her some validation for that, like, oh, wow, that must have been really hard, or whatever it is. And then maybe you can even share back a little bit of something with her about something similar from your life. A little bit. Just don't get too heavy or too deep or too serious into it. And then to keep that light and playful atmosphere, after you kind of finish that little conversation loop with her where it kind of got serious for a second, then you want to bring it back to the fun. So then maybe you say a playfully teasing comment, or then you change the subject to a more positive subject. So this is not just like a constant, like silly, fun clown show that you want to put on. You just want to always have that fun, light, playful atmosphere in the background. So even when you're talking about serious things, you should be able to transition to a light and positive topic very naturally and smoothly from that place, instead of getting stuck down there in that deep, serious, heavy place. And if you can do that, you're actually going to build a stronger romantic relationship with her than if you try to stay down in that deep, serious, heavy place, because that's where romantic connections go to die. So again, if you want to build a deep connection with a woman, instead of getting too serious too soon, have as much fun as you possibly can with her, and at the same time, let her talk about herself and her life and show you how amazing she is at the same time. Because when a woman shares things about herself with you, that's when she feels that connection with you and that attraction to you. So we don't feel more connected to people when they share things about themselves with us. We feel more connected to someone when we share things about ourselves with them. So if you want her to feel deeply connected to you, which should be your goal if you're building a romantic connection with her, then she has to share a lot of things about herself with you. So don't tell her all the amazing things about yourself and try to convince her to like you. Instead, have fun with her and encourage her to talk about herself as much as possible. And if you do those two things, you're going to do just fine. And if you want to know exactly what to do, step by step, from the first moment that you meet a woman that you're interested in until she falls deeply in love with you and then becomes your girlfriend and even your wife, if that's what you want, then go grab your copy of our best-selling Attract and Keep Her system right now. Inside the Attract and Keep Her system, we go over the 4 male qualities that increase female interest and how to apply them step by step from the first moment that you meet a woman until she becomes your girlfriend and beyond. And then we also talk about the 4 things that maintain female interest over time so that she never wants to leave you, and exactly how to apply those 4 principles as well. And of course, we talk about how to build a satisfying relationship that keeps both of you happy as long as you want to be together. So if all of that sounds good to you and you haven't already, go to attractandkeepher.com/system. That's attractandkeepher.com/system and grab your copy right now. And as a thank you for being awesome and checking out this presentation, we have some free gifts for you as well. We have some advanced free training for you, and you can get that by going to datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com. That's datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com. I'm Jim Wolf with Dating Advice for Men Who Love Women. Love is light and playful. It's not serious. And I'll talk to you later.